Hey guys, Gathering Magic back again, and it's Sunday, so you know what that means. It's time for another episode of the Splinterlands Market Watch. This is episode number 22. Today is October 20th, 2024. So we're going to go through all the different token prices, pack prices, card prices, see what kind of movements there's been over the last 2 weeks. So sit back, relax, and enjoy. So starting off with tokens. As you guys probably know, if you've been following the markets or Splinterlands at all, we've seen a nice bump in SPS price over the last couple weeks. So we went from 0.0077 up to, I think earlier today, it might have briefly touched 0.09, but we're currently at 0085. So that is SPS. Vouchers have continued to trend a little bit lower. 2 weeks ago, it was just under a penny at 9/10 of a cent. Currently, we're at about 8.5 tenths of a cent for vouchers. DEC has also seen a nice increase over the last 2 weeks. 2 weeks ago, we were at 77.5 cents per thousand. Currently, we're sitting at about 85 cents per thousand. So tokens overall seem to be moving in a pretty good direction. Speaking of vouchers, over the last 2 weeks, we went from about 13.6 to 13.8 million. We increased by 207,000 vouchers, or about 14, just under 15,000 a day. Not a lot of vouchers synced, so I'm kind of surprised this isn't higher. So there are a lot of people still buying the Mana Warden card, it looks like. Otherwise, this would be a lot closer to the 40,000 per day that we're printing. SPS burn, we finally went above what was burned for validator nodes. So currently we are at just under 63 million SPS that has been burnt. And over the last 2 weeks, we burned just over 400,000 SPS, and we're burning just under 29,000 SPS a day. So as DEC gets closer and closer to peg, I expect this number is going to trend higher, which is good overall. That'll help push up the SPS price even more. Let's get to packs now. So for packs, not a whole lot of movement in all the older packs. You can see the pack prices here are pretty much stable from where they were 2 weeks ago. For the more modern packs like Chaos Legion, it was 34 cents a couple weeks ago. It's currently trading at about 32 cents. And 2 weeks ago when we did the market watch, we finally went under 2 million packs that were left unopened. So now we're at 1 million, just about 1,977,000, let's say, packs that are remaining. So we burned or opened just under 16,000 packs in the last 2 weeks. Rift Watchers has drifted a little bit lower. So it's gone from $1.98 down to $1.71. So Rift Watchers is on kind of a slide. But if you'll notice over the last 2 weeks, we've opened over 1,300 Rift Watcher packs, which is quite a lot. Last week, I believe it was around just under 900 packs that have been opened over the previous 2 weeks. And before that, it's usually in the 100, 150 range. So over the last month, there's been a lot of movement for packs for Rift Watchers, probably because of the price being much more affordable. Rebellion continues to hold very, very strong. Pack prices, card prices. The only thing is it's just not selling that much. As you can see, the pack prices were $344 2 weeks ago in the marketplace. Now it's $354. But over the last 2 weeks, we haven't even sold 4,000 packs. So we're selling about 275 packs a day. So at this rate, we're not going to hit 1 million by the time the rest of them are burned and the Rebellion sale is over. So good news is cards and packs are holding their price, but the bad news is we're not really helping the team by buying a lot of packs. So this may change as we get into the last few weeks, but I don't expect this to change a whole lot until probably, like I said, that final month or final 2 or 3 weeks. People are probably going to break down and say, okay, if I want to buy Rebellion, I better buy it now. Okay, moving on to sets. So we always start with Alpha. Alpha movement, not a whole lot in Alpha other than gold foil commons. The floor had drifted lower over the last couple weeks down to just over 10 bucks. Now we're back up to 14.50 for the cheapest gold foil common. You can see the rest of the prices here. There are a couple gold foil epics where there is only a single copy available. Last week there was one they were asking $20,000. This week, 4,000 is the highest epic. Legendaries, we'll go through in part 2 what specific card dropped, but there is now an alpha legendary card under $20, and we'll get to that in part 2. The new addition for the gold foil cards is there is a gold foil legendary Selenius Sky, one copy available, and they're asking $12,000. Other than that, these two cards have been there for quite a while. A single copy of Lord of Darkness gold foil for $2,300, and an Elemental Phoenix for $155,000. Okay, the promo cards. The big bump this week was in the common Dragon promo card. Previously, 2 weeks ago, it was $5.65. I believe this was up from just under $3 the 2 weeks before that. Currently, the one on sale on the market is just under 20 bucks. So for some reason, this took a big bump. The other two cards are pretty much the same price as they were. The gold foil versions you can see here. The rare almost tripled in price. It went from 119 to 357. Common is still around just over 42 bucks, and the epic is right around 1,000. So not a lot of movement in alpha being, the older expensive set, but there is just a little bit of movement for the gold foil commons. Okay, moving on to beta. So 2 weeks ago, the big news was the beta common cards seemed to have a buyout where the low-end cards that were usually 3, 4, 5 cents all disappeared, and the commons jumped up to 12 cents for the cheapest common, up to $6.89. This week, it kind of went back to more of the normal price of where it's been for the last few months. So now you can pick up some beta commons for around 5 or 6 cents, and the high-end common is now 73. The rare one that was $6.90, this one has kind of disappeared. This was a buyout. So now you're back to the typical, just over 20 cents to $2 range for beta rares. Epics, you're looking at 60 cents to about 6.50. And then beta legendaries, just over $4 for the floor for the legendaries, up to 99. The reason you had this 450 is there was a single copy of Valdemar, but it wasn't 1 BCX. I believe it was a 3 BCX copy. So there were no single BCXs on the market, so that's why this price is so high. Gold foils, you can see as well, not a whole lot of movement over the last 2 weeks, pretty much in the same ranges. The one thing to talk about for beta is the promo common card. So this is Delwyn, the common dragon summoner for +1 magic. A month ago it was 21 cents, then it jumped up to 90 cents, now it's $1.20. So I'm not sure if it's because of the market watch or people deciding, hey, I would really like to have a dragon summoner, especially any summoner that gives plus magic. It is a common, so you do need a ton of copies, and very quickly those copies can disappear if just 1 or 2 people want to level up the card to silver or gold level. So currently the card is just over $1 at $1.20. Rare and the epics are pretty much unchanged. For your legendaries, Red Dragon's still around 18 bucks. Prince Julian went from 2,500 down to $2,000. But Archmage Arius, a couple weeks ago they were asking just under $500. Now there's a single copy available for just under $4,000. So someone really wants to see if they can get $4,000 for that card. Good luck with that. Okay, gold foil commons. So the common summoner went from $9.50 to $11.30. The rare jumped up from 18 to 25, but the epic went down from 125 to 40 bucks. So if you are looking to pick up that gold foil epic, the dragon card, this might be a good time. 125 down to 40. I'm not sure if it's going to go much lower than that. And the gold foil legendaries, there are just none available on the marketplace. Okay, moving to Untamed. Same thing with the basic set. The only real movement that we saw over the last 2 weeks are the legendaries. Some of the key legendary cards fluctuated a little bit in price. We'll get to that in a minute. The gold foil cards, you're still looking at about 50 cents for the floor, up to about 6 bucks for the highest gold foil common. Your rares ranging anywhere from 2 bucks to 11. Your epics just under 10 bucks to 50. And then your gold foil legendaries, you're sitting at right around 60 bucks for the low end. up to 750. So how did our key untamed cards do over the last 2 weeks? So the ones that I track are Kitty, Llama, Jotun, and Kron. So a month ago, Kitty was up to 90 bucks. 2 weeks ago, she came down to 64. Now it's actually down to 50. So if you've been looking to pick up a Kitty at a low price, this is the lowest price that it has been in over a month. Same thing with Llama. Llama, I believe a month ago was like in the low 40s, $42, $43, came down to 29 2 weeks ago. Currently it's at 28, so seems to have leveled at the upper 20s price point. Jotun took a dip from 41 down to 32. And then a month ago, Kron had spiked from, he was under $10, believe it or not, about a month and a half ago, and then jumped up a month ago to 30. Came down 2 weeks ago to about 19. Now currently it's sitting at 15. So not sure if this is going to keep dropping down to the $10 range where it was a month or two ago, but it is trending lower. So if you're looking to pick up a Kron, keep an eye on this price. So this may drift a little bit lower. For the gold foils, Kitty went down just a little bit from 750 down to 700. Llama doubled in price, went from 232 to 500. Jotun stayed the same at 475, and then Kron dipped a little bit lower from 174 to 160. And there is a $1,000 gold foil legendary that is not on this list, as you will notice. And stay tuned for part 2 to find out what that card is. Okay, and your promo cards. So the Halfling Alchemist dipped down from $1.70 to $1.60. Chain Golem went from $8.70 to $7.80. And the Mighty Dricken went from $19.75 down to $1,850. Gold foil versions pretty much where they were 2 weeks ago. That Alchemist is still sitting there for $100. The Chain Golem $60 and no gold foil Dricken. All right, moving on to dice. So the one thing that I really look at when I look at dice, probably what most people do, is the summoners. So the base cards are pretty much the same. Summoners fluctuated a little bit in price, but the high-end summoner is now only $1.11. About a month ago, the high-end summoner was $3. So to find out which one this is, like I said, stay tuned for part 2. We will cover that. Legendaries pretty much stayed the same, $3 to $65 for the high end. For your gold foil cards, you're looking at, just over 50 cents to $1.72. Your rares, just over $2 to 30. The epics, 12 to 37, so they stayed pretty much unchanged over the last 2 weeks. And your gold foil legendaries, you're looking at just over $60 for the low end, up to $500 for the high end gold foil legendary. Okay, moving on to Orb, another small set, so this one goes very quickly as well. Commons pretty much, I would say they stayed the same, but they did drift a little bit lower. They were in a very tight range 2 weeks ago, 12 to 19 cents. So they have come down a little bit, 6 to 12. Rares still sitting at, just above 20 to 40 cents. Your epics around $1 to $1.20, so that's pretty consistent. And then your legendary cards usually go from, $7, $8 up to 12. So not a whole lot of movement over the last few months for Orb for the base prices. Gold foil cards, you're looking at $3 to $10 for a common, $7.50 to around $10 for a rare. There's no gold foil epics on the market. There hasn't been for the last month. And then your legendary cards, you can see these have been the same for the last month. Your Minotaur Warlord is $700. There's no Lord of Fire on the market. And then the Corrupted Pegasus is sitting at $1,400. Okay, so now we get on to Modern. So we come to Chaos Legion. So the base cards, you can see not a lot of movement. The only real change over the last 2 weeks is the high-end legendary card went from $4 to $5. Other than that, Chaos Legion is pretty much staying the same. As far as the soulbounds go, the high end, as you will notice, has drifted a little bit lower. The floor price is pretty much staying just above what it costs to unlock these cards. You're really not making anything here. So the floor you're looking at is 5 cents for a common, 17 for a rare, 91 for an epic, and then $4.75 to $5 for a legendary. But as you can see, that high end profit margin is starting to squeeze a little bit. So it was 30 cents for a rare, now it's 25. For the epics, people were selling them for $1.36, but now that's tightened down to $1.10. And the legendary, the people were asking about $6.50 for, are now down just under $6. So there's just very little money to be made if you sell, at these prices. But if there's not a lot of demand, then people are just trying to sell it as cheap as they can and make whatever they can off the cards to try to get a quick flip. The gold foil commons, let's see, is there really a lot of movement? Not really. The floor for the gold foil legendaries is still holding at about $16. The last month or two, they had drifted higher to almost 20. So I was thinking, okay, maybe we're gonna, stabilize at that $20 mark for a gold foil legendary. But nope, we're still down around the $16 to $17 range for gold foils. As far as the soul bounce are concerned, as you can see, the floor price is pretty much consistent. The epics did drop a little bit. So the floor was $25 for a gold foil epic 2 weeks ago. Now it's at $27.88. So this came up a little bit, but the high end came down. So the asking price for a common was up to $1.89. Now it's down to $1.60. The rare 664, there is a copy that's there for $12, but other than that one card, it's pretty much the same at right around, $6.50 to $7 for the high end for a gold foil rare. Your epics, they do seem to range between, 25 to 35, 40 bucks. They're still in that range. And then your legendaries are, the floor did drop quite a bit, which I'm kind of surprised on. It went down from 124 to 108, but the high end seems to be consistent at just under $200. For your promo cards, the bear and Vrus. Previously, the bear was 5 cents, went up to 9. Vrus went from 14 to 23, so a little bit of a bump there. The gold foil bear stayed right around $1, but gold foil Vrus more than doubled. So these have dried up off the market a little bit. They were $1.75, and currently they're just over $4. The big mover as far as promo cards from Chaos Legion over the last 2 weeks is Oshure. For as long as I can remember doing the Market Watch, it's usually been anywhere from $7.50 to about $9. Currently, all those are gone, and the cheapest single BCX is $20. So for some reason, people are really aping into Oshure and have more than doubled the price. Dr. Blight has stayed around, the $10 to $12 range. Zerial saw that bump 2 weeks ago to 30. Currently, it's still 30, so it's holding strong for the last month. Waka sitting at just 120, it was 125, so really not a whole lot of movement. But Lux did come up a little bit from $200 to $233. And then your gold foil versions, this is kind of surprising. Oshure took the big bump in the normal foil, but the gold foil went down from 38 to 31. So you would think if it was just $8 and went to 20, you would think the gold foil would go from 38 to, let's say, 55 or 60. So not sure which of these is the outlier. Either this has to come down or this has to come up a little bit, I think, for it to be in balance. So maybe $31 is a good deal for a gold foil Assure. I will let you decide. Dr. Blight came down from 82 to 57.50. Zerial 135 to 125, so just a $10 decline there. Same with Waka, went from 649 to 639, and that gold foil Lux is still sitting on the market for $3,000. Okay, on to Rift Watchers. So Rift Watchers, the high-end common went from 9 cents to 19, so doubled in price. Other than that, the movement is not really there for Rift Watchers for the regular foils. The only real movement in price, as you can see, 2 weeks ago, Inevitables had dried off the market, so the only BCX available, the cheapest one was $60. Currently, there's some single BCX listed for $35. And for gold foil commons, same thing. You're looking at 22 to 35 cents for the floor, up to about $1.25 to $1.50. The gold foil rares just under 70 cents to just under $4 for the high end. Epics, which are your legendary or your summoners, 270 up to 11.59, and then your gold foil legendaries did come down. So 2 weeks ago the floor was 23, currently is 18, and there is a single copy of Inevitable, and that is the highest price gold foil legendary for Rift Watchers, and that is sitting at $150. Okay, moving on to Rebellion. So like I said, Rebellion continues to hold price. So not a whole lot of packs have been opened. People don't seem to really be buying a whole lot of Rebellion other than probably some of the legendary summoners. But the cards are holding their value. People are not dumping them. I'm curious to see how this moves over the next 2 weeks because the final conflict is over. There's no need to stake these on battle wagons. So I'm wondering, are people going to keep these, continue to play with them? Are they going to try to dump them on the market? So we'll stay tuned over the next couple weeks and see how it goes. Currently, you can see the commons are selling from that 5 to 30 cent range. Rares 10 to about $1.50. Your epics just over 50 cents, 60 cents to 3.40, and then your legendaries range in price from $3 to 50. Now, as far as the soulbound cards go, as you can see, the commons 2 weeks ago were selling in that 7 to 12 cent range. Currently is now 8 to 10 cents. The rares were selling 32 to 45. Now it's tightened to 30 to 49. Your epics 187 to 282. The unlock for the low end has come down a little bit to $1.83. But the high end you can see for the epics, which are the key cards in the set, has come down from 282 to 214. So that's really tightened. So the profit margins on the epics is very, very tight. The same thing with the legendaries. You know, people were selling them 2 weeks ago for 18 on the high end. Now that's down to 12. So the people that have unlocked it are just trying to recuperate what it costs them and then try to make just a dollar or two more, not being too greedy there. For your gold foil commons, is there really a whole lot of movement in these? Your epics, the high end went from 17 to 27 for the base set. And your gold foil legendaries, the floor is right around $45, up to $629. And this is for a single copy. 2 weeks ago, it was also a single copy, selling for $549. But this was a max rage that was selling for $549, and I believe the $629 is for a single BCX of tofu. For the soulbound cards for the gold foils, you can see the commons are still sitting at 2. But the high end is up to 440. I believe this was only a single copy available. That's why they were asking 440. So it looks like once this copy sells, you're pretty much going to be in the $2 to $3 range. Your rares, $6, I think might actually be under burn cost. So I don't think that $6 card will last very long. And the high end is down to 12. Gold foil epics, you're sitting in that $40 to $50 range. And there aren't any, and I don't expect there ever to be any gold foil legendaries unlocked for the current soulbound cards. It's just too expensive and too risky to try to sell one. Okay, let's look at some of the key legendary cards. So, Kai, 2 weeks ago, just under 6, drifted down $1 lower to just under 5. A Kane, 2 weeks ago, was 15, down to 13, so dropped $2 there. Rage had a nice bump though, went from 1675 to just under 22. Darg dropped from 1950 down to just over 16. Venka, that had been holding strong at $32 2 weeks ago, now currently is under 24. Lorcus is staying right around that $24, $25 range, so you can see it here at $24.95. Cryptic fell from 25 down to just over $20. Tofu, which I saw, I believe, about a week ago, as high as $84 for a single BCX. At the time of this recording, the cheapest copy is $50, so still holding that $50 price point. EMP, he dropped down from 18 down to 14. And then the last conflict, the last airdrop, the dragon dropped, so I am listing that now. It is just under $28. Of course, it was not around 2 weeks ago. The gold foils, 2 weeks ago there was not a gold foil Kai on the market. Currently there's one for 75. A Kane was 98, went down to about 90. Rage, this was a max copy for 549. Now there is a single BCX and they are asking 250. Darg dropped from 79 to 58. Venka went down from 222 to just over $200. Gold foil Larkus went from 215 up to 270. Cryptic had a little bit of a bump from 150 to 164. Tofu, $2.79. That seemed like a good deal a couple weeks ago compared to now. Now they're asking $550 for a gold foil. EMP was 160. He's down to 105. And then, like I said, the newest edition for Nidhogger, it is now the gold foil is sitting at $190. Okay, so now we'll wrap this up with the promo cards. So the older promo cards, Grim Barton Smith and Manaroth, you can see the prices here. Grim Barton Smith is staying above 250 per BCX, and the gold foil is just over 21. Manaroth, he seems to fluctuate between 30 and 50. So he was 50 2 weeks ago, now he's down to 32.50. But the gold foil is holding very strong and has gone up. So 2 weeks ago, you could have got a gold foil Manaroth for 325. Now they're asking just under 500. The Enforcer has stayed at 50 cents for the regular foil. The gold foils dropped from 4 to 3. Baron Fiat, he was 450 2 weeks ago. He continues to drift lower. He's down to 374. But the gold foil is still holding pretty strong. It's still at $65. Mana Warden, as more and more copies are being unlocked with vouchers, the price has just continued to fall. So 2 weeks ago it was 18 cents. And for quite a while it had been from, around 18 to 22 cents. Now it's down all the way down to 12 cents per copy. But the gold foils are still holding above $2. So 2 weeks ago it was right around $3 a copy. Now it's down to $2.13. And the two newest cards, Sanctus, had a big price spike. I think it was $1.79 a month ago, went up to $4. Now he's back down to about $2.50. The gold foil dropped from 21 to 18.50. And then Eleanor is just across the board holding strong. So it's still holding above $43 for the regular foil. And single copies of gold foil Eleanor are still $500 for a single BCX. So there you have it, guys. So there are the numbers for the Market Watch for October 20th. This is part 1. So in part 2, which I will record right after this, we will go to the market. We will go by set, just kind of take a look at the cards that are on the market. How many copies are available? Is the market thin? Is there a glut of certain cards on the market? Stay tuned. We will find out shortly. So hope you guys are doing well, and stay tuned for part 2. Take care.